August 18, 1590. Governor John White wades onto the shores of Roanoke Island. It is his granddaughter, Virginia Dare's, third birthday, and he is bringing a ship full of long-delayed supplies. Instead of a greeting party, he steps into complete silence. Walking inland, White found an empty fort. There were no bodies and no signs of a struggle. The houses had been taken down and removed, indicating an organized, planned evacuation rather than a panicked flight. White found the word Croatoan carved into a palisade post and the letters Crow on a tree. He specifically noted the absence of a Maltese cross, the sign of distress the settlers had promised to use if they were forced to leave the settlement. 117 men, women, and children were gone. To see how a group this large could vanish, we have to look back to 1584 and the escalating conflicts that defined the island before the families ever arrived. Queen Elizabeth I authorized the exploration of North America for a specific purpose. England needed a new world stronghold to launch raids against the Spanish Empire and their annual treasure fleets. In 1585, Sir Walter Raleigh sent a military expedition to establish a fortified outpost on Roanoke Island, led by Ralph Lane. They arrived late in the season and quickly exhausted their food stores. Lane resorted to violence to maintain control. After accusing a local village of stealing a silver cup, the English burned the settlement of Aquascoguk. Shortly after, Lane's men killed the local chieftain, Wenyina. These attacks disrupted a structured local society. As recorded in John White's watercolor, Algonquian tribes supported themselves with sophisticated fishing techniques and managed agriculture. In late June 1586, Lane and his men abandoned the Roanoke outpost, hitching a ride back to England with the privateer Sir Francis Drake. When Lane's men departed, they left the island's primary food sources cut off and the local tribes in a state of open war. This was the environment 117 civilian men, women, and children were sent into just 1 year later. In 1587, Governor John White led an agricultural mission of families intended for the deeper, safer waters of the Chesapeake Bay. However, during a brief stop at Roanoke, the expedition's pilot, Simon Fernandez, refused to take the colonists any farther. He forced the civilians to remain on the island and sailed away. The consequences were immediate. Colonist George Howe was ambushed and killed while hunting for crabs in the Sound shortly after arrival. Despite an alliance with a Croatoan native named Monteo and the birth of baby Virginia Dare, the settlers were starving. Only a few months after landing, they convinced Governor White to sail back to England for emergency supplies. The civilians were now stranded in a hostile zone without enough provisions to last until the first harvest. White arrived in England just as the Anglo-Spanish War began. Facing a massive naval invasion, Queen Elizabeth ordered a shipping embargo to defend the Channel. Seen in this painting of the Spanish Armada, the massive conflict paralyzed English logistics. White was unable to secure a return ship for 3 years. When White finally returned in 1590, the physical evidence at the camp suggested an orderly departure. Heavy iron objects were left behind and overgrown with grass, but the houses had been taken down carefully. White planned to follow the carvings south to Hatteras Island to find his family, but a severe hurricane snapped his anchor cables. Fearing the ship would run aground, the captain abandoned the search and returned to the Caribbean. Geopolitical warfare dictated the outcome of the search. White never reached the island again, and the fate of the colonists became a matter of speculation for the next 4 centuries. In the 1930s, dozens of carved rocks, known as the Dare Stones, appeared to offer a message from the colonists, but the majority were proven to be hoaxes. Modern investigators focus instead on the clues left in the 16th century. The carvings found at the fort provide the basis for the assimilation theory. White believed the message meant the settlers had safely relocated to live with Manteo's people on Hatteras Island. This American Indian Law Review excerpt cites a 1748 account of a mixed crew in the region, linking the colonists to the Lumbee Indians. The text also explores ties to groups like the Cherokee, seeking evidence of the English families within local tribal histories. While integration into local tribes is a logical path for survival, archaeology has yet to uncover 16th-century English remains on Hatteras Island to confirm it. A second theory tracks the colonists moving 50 miles inland toward the Chowan River, following White's original plan. At locations labeled Site X and Site Y, ground-penetrating radar and excavations unearthing 16th-century ceramics indicate small family units may have lived at these inland sites. There is also the possibility of a violent end. Later settlers at Jamestown heard rumors that the paramount chief Powhatan ordered the Roanoke colonists killed to prevent them from allying with his rivals. While researchers continue to dig for physical proof, the story has been preserved in local culture. This outdoor theater on Roanoke Island has performed a symphonic drama about the colony for nearly 9 decades. The archaeological consensus is that the colonists likely dispersed into smaller factions to survive, blending into the landscape and local populations. Whether they assimilated, migrated further inland, or were killed, the definitive truth remains buried. Which theory do you find most convincing? Leave your thoughts in the comments.